Record and recording. Okay, hello, what's up? It's me, JGB. This is a live experiment. I just hit record. I'm filming myself while recording this podcast recording, and I find that really distracting. But like I said, this is a live experiment. What I'm doing right now is I'm checking in. I am showing up. I don't feel ready. I'm totally uncomfortable. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to say. I haven't calculated all of the things, and that gives me a feeling of complete, total, utter discomfort because there's uncertainty. And so that makes me want to not do this at all. It makes me want to run and avoid. And that has been the consistent pattern for me forever. And guess what? When you do that, you don't actually create anything. You live from a place of avoidance and fear just because of a desire for perfection, I guess is what I'm realizing. And if I'm ever going to break through, I'm going to have to let go of this need for perfection, the need for this to look a certain way, for this to be exactly what I have envisioned in my mind. And I think that's the biggest challenge for me, is that I am such a visual thinker, and I have the ability to see in my mind's eye exactly what it is that I'm trying to create. And I've had this vision for a long time. And one day I will be able to put together a montage of all the times I've said, okay, I'm just going to get started. I'm just going to start now. I'm just going to start documenting. I'm just going to start posting on social media. I'm just going to start telling my story. I'm ready to start now. And I always go like a day, maybe two, honestly, probably never 3 days consistently, because I hit a wall, because it's not perfect and I don't understand how to package things, and it's just too big. It's just too big. I have this story to tell, and I have this plight, and like I said, I've been seeing it in my mind's eye for years and years and years. It's so real when you can live it in your I was going to say lived experience, but it in my mental experience. I can see what it is that I'm trying to do, and I know for sure, without a doubt, that I am going to create this. I actually really truly know that, but I don't know how. And I'm somebody who's so process oriented and who loves to think. I'm an ideas person, and I want to map it all out, and I want to break it down, and I want to plan it, and I want structure, and I want there to be a beginning and a middle and an end, and I want there to be impact, and the crux has to hit, the arc of the story has to come in here, and right, like there's just so much control involved in how I'm going to show up online, how I'm going to have online presence, how I'm going to build my brand, how I'm going to tell my story. And I've gotten nowhere so far with this desire to do things perfectly. I've gotten nowhere so far by trying to control things. And it's so ironic that these are the lessons that I'm learning in life too, is letting go of control and trusting in the process and just showing up. Like that's all I have to do. I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to control things. I just need to show up in service of my highest good, doing things that serve me well. And this is my passion project. This is my livelihood. This is my dream. It means so much to me. And so why wouldn't I just show up and hope for the best and do the best I can with what I have, which is what I'm doing right in this moment. Is I'm just showing up, and I don't have all the answers, and I can't control what this is gonna look like and whether this is the right way to start. Like there's just so much uncertainty, which is really uncomfortable, but guess what? Here we are. We're doing the damn thing. We're showing up. And I think that's what this podcast is going to be about, is how do we continually show up to do the work, to align with our highest selves, and to become the heroes of our story. the hero's journey is such a big part of the work that I'm doing. It has been my path to align with my path of purpose and to answer the call and to do the work. And I'm seeing the progress, and I'm seeing how I am becoming aligned with what I'm here to do. And there's so many beautiful positive changes. The transformation is incredible. And that's why I'm bursting at the seams. Like, truly, I'm so desperate to create, to birth this creative endeavor, because there's so much beauty in what's happening, this unraveling, this unfolding that's happening now that I'm on this spiritual path, that I'm on this healing path. And I have to jump in already and say, even just saying those words is hard for me. The spiritual path. I think I have this story in my mind that it's like when people get sober, or when they create change in their lives, they go to God. And for some reason, there's this really negative feeling towards that for me. That's for me to unpack. I'm not going to do that live here with you, but spirituality is new for me. And whenever I use that word, I notice that there are existing, I want to say inclinations. There's existing frameworks. There's existing ideas. There's existing connotations. That's the word I'm looking for when I use that word spiritual. And I guess I fear that when I say I want to teach spirituality, or I'm on a spiritual path, I'm afraid of what connotations come up for people, because I know that likely the people that I want to connect with and interact with, and the people that will benefit the most from going through an experience the way I did, are likely similar to me and have these connotations in their mind that spirituality is a certain thing. It is a certain way. It's for certain people. It shows up in our lives in certain ways. It's only for these types, or it's those types of people are this and that. And I think that's what I'm really eager to shift or to change, because my experience of spirituality is much different than what I thought spirituality was. And it has served me so, I mean, it's everything now. This spiritual journey has completely woken me up. I've like stepped out of the matrix, and my life is not anywhere near at all what it was before. And it's thanks to this lens. It's thanks to this ability to see life differently and to know that there's something else going on here. There is something so much bigger than me going on here, and there's mystery to it, and there's magic to it. And I just can't imagine life without that mystery and magic. I would never go back. And so this is why I'm here, is to talk about this spiritual journey and the teachings and how I got to this place. And that's what this podcast is about. You know, I think I'm going to call this Making JGB, because that has been the journey that I've been on. It has always been about me telling my story and using that story to help people to walk this similar path. And that similar path is a spiritual path. And whatever connotations you have in your mind about what spirituality is, I hope that we can enter in this engagement together and just look at what that means for you. And look at what different ways we might be able to bring that into our life. If you notice that little niggle that's like, ooh, spirituality, not for me, or I'm afraid to lean into spirituality because of what other people might think, let's just notice if something comes up there. But that is what this is about. It's about answering the call and recognizing that we have work to do, that we are here to heal. The human experience has posited us here in a body. I am a being, a human being, having an experience in the physical world, but I do believe that I'm a spiritual being in a physical body. And the experience of life is traumatizing. I believe that. I think that it's tough. This is a tough life. And I think the word trauma has also talk about connotations, especially now, that we have social media and we can really put out so much content that includes so much verbiage, including trauma and all the things related to trauma. Like, it's just pretty trendy right now. And so I think the word gets overused, and I don't mean to say that everything that I'm here to talk about is about trauma. I don't think everything is trauma related, but I do want to say that I think we're all experiencing trauma in various forms, and that the human experience is here for us to work through that and to be in flow and to disconnect from the things that are not serving us well. And there's so much more I could say on that. And this is one of the things that I get apprehensive about when I go to record something and I don't have all the answers to give you, like exactly what my definition of trauma is and exactly what I want to talk about here. But that's okay. This is one of the overarching themes for sure, is how life is challenging. And I truly believe that the challenges we go through, let's use the word challenge, the challenges we go through are meant for us. The trauma we go through is meant for us. We've been through a great deal of trauma, and I would not change anything, truly. And I mean a lot. I've been through a lot of stuff that I should never have gone through. And yet I still wouldn't change it, because I can see that what I've been through brought me down this path, and it has led me to where I am, and there's no way I would have woken up. There's no way I would have landed on this path if it weren't for what I went through. And I truly believe that it was meant for me, and I think we're all going through that. We all have accumulated these things that we believe about ourselves, that we believe about our story, about our reason for being, about our behavior, about our personalities. We have all these false impressions about who we are. We've been told we're a certain way. We've been told that's the way the world works. Just wake up. Accept it. It is what it is, But I think a lot of that is bullshit. I think it's programming. And I can tell you from where I'm sitting right now that I spent my whole life believing what I was programmed to believe. I got that from my family. I got that from society. I got that from my surroundings. Everything that I was brought up around taught me to be small and to tone it down and to not speak my mind. And I truly believed that I was a nuisance and that I was too much and that I wasn't really smart and I was kind of, just not really sharp enough, not perfect enough, not insert whatever word enough. I really spent my whole life believing that stuff without even noticing that I believed those things. I was in the dark. I was on autopilot, and I lived in this bubble where I believed that life is really fucking hard and that that's just how it was supposed to be. And then I woke up. And I realized that all of that stuff that I believed or that I was told about myself or that I wasn't enough, it's all bullshit. And now I've opened the doors and I started doing the work to really reprogram and redirect my thoughts and change my vibration and recognize, where does this come from? Why do I believe this? Why am I carrying this? There's so much more I can say on that, but this is the path that I've been walking, is reprogramming everything I think I know to be true. And being in this place of curiosity and awe and wonder and really questioning what I believe about myself and the world and what I'm here to do and about what's possible. Because what I'm learning so far, I've been on a healing journey, I would say, for like five. I took my leap of faith 6 years ago. I would say 5 years of that has been pretty intentional, looking at myself, admitting, accepting, asking for help, asking for knowledge, asking, inquiring, showing up, being present, wanting to do the work. And in this time, it's incredible. Guys, I mean, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm bursting at the seams, as I say, is like I have this incredible story of transformation. And the thing that's so powerful about this is that I have had this vision my whole entire life. My whole life, I have pictured myself telling this story. And so because I had that in my mind, I was like, I have to figure out how to do this. I have to figure out each step. I have to control all the things and find out exactly how to do this. It's created immense pressure. It's created so many feelings of failure and second guessing and gaslighting myself, and just this constant feeling of guilt and not doing enough, and I haven't figured it out, and what's wrong with me, and gosh, what a journey. And you know what the most beautiful, ironic thing is that it's all happening on its own. That's what's so beautiful, and that's why I want to tell this story so badly, is because I've seen it in my mind's eye, and I always felt like I had to do something about it, but it's actually all happening on its own. Everything I envisioned is happening on its own, not because I controlled the factors, not because I knew how to do it or what to say, or not because I planned. It's all happening on its own. And there's this beautiful question there, is like, did I manifest this because I've had these visions for so long? Or is this just what's meant for me? I do not know. Okay, so I just felt the overwhelm enter my body in that moment. You know, like, where do I go from here? Well, how do I start to tell you the story? And so I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew right now. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of where we're at. I'm checking in, okay? So I just recently started putting videos of myself dancing on the internet, which is a big thing for me, a huge challenge for me. I experience a lot of self-doubt and fear towards rejection, judgment, criticism. This has been the work for me, is noticing the fear that comes up and allowing myself to just lean into the things that feel good. And so it feels really good to dance and to be free and to express myself through performance and dance, and that's what I've been doing in this chapter of my life where I'm living at the lake. And before this, I was living on an island in Thailand called Koh Phangan. These are conscious communities, and if you're listening to me, you can't see the air quotes, and I'm not going to dive into that topic right now. But what's beautiful about these quote unquote conscious communities is that there is a lot of healing work happening here. There's workshops, and there's ecstatic dance, and there's all sorts of activities centered around doing the work. And so I've been very grateful to find myself in these places. Specifically, personally, what I genuinely feel called towards when I'm in these spaces is ecstatic dance. And so I've had this really cool, beautiful experience with ecstatic dance, where I went from being the type of girl who would show up at a place like that and be so stuck in my head that I could not possibly, for the life of me, allow myself to move or to even have fun. It was just, there again, coming back to that fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of criticism. I was not able to get out of my head and just be in my body and just enjoy the music and have fun. That's what we're there to do, is to be enjoy and to have fun and to be free and to let go. I was never able to do that. And something has shifted. And that's what I'll take as the story to tell you today. So sometime, I don't know how long ago, as I have mentioned, have been doing the work. I suspect what has happened is that I came back into my body after having been dissociated my whole life. So these are things I would love to talk about in more detail, right? Dissociation. What does that feel like? What does it look like? How do we know if we're dissociated? Because I never knew I was dissociated, and I had been told many times, you're so dissociated. Oh, you can talk about that as if it didn't happen to you. You're so dissociated. And I just remember being like, what the fuck does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. I can feel my body. Obviously, I am in my body. Like, what does dissociation even mean? What does it feel like? How do I know? And to be honest with you, I didn't know what it was like to be in my body until I was in my body. And we can talk about this in more detail in a separate episode. But I suspect what has happened to me with this transformation is that in doing the work, I have come back into my body. And I would say this is probably about a year ago. I came back into my body, and then I started noticing that everything felt so different. Everything just started being like a little too much, right? Like I started hearing frequencies. And this is for real. My ears have changed. I don't know what's going on. I am hearing frequencies at all times. There is a consistent tinnitus frequency that's happening, but also I hear pitches from wires. I hear pitches from any electronic anything, any reverberation of sound. I suddenly became insanely sensitive to. I can hear stuff from far away. It feels like it's right next to me. There's something sonar, like, wow. I just started noticing, what the fuck, how did I never notice this before? And it's not just my ears, it's vibration. So I feel it in my body. If a motorbike goes by, I started feeling it in my body, in my chest specifically, and it feels like nails on a chalkboard, but in my body. And my body is mine. That's my safe space. I don't want anybody in my body. I certainly don't want nails down a chalkboard in my body. And so life started becoming really fucking hard, because I was just so overwhelmed all of a sudden and not understanding why. Like, why all of a sudden am I so sensitive to sound? I became sensitive to light. I became sensitive. Sensorial experiences just became amplified in such a big way. And I think that that's because I've always been this way, but I just never was in tune with it because I was dissociated. That's just a theory. A lot of the stuff that I talk about here is going to be my lived experience, and I am 100% all about curiosity and wonder, okay? I am asking questions. I am wanting to hear your experience. I am wanting to learn more. I'm wanting to dig into things. None of this is gospel. None of this is me preaching, telling you how things are. I don't know shit. I think I opened with this is like, I am challenging everything I think I know. And I'm just the type of person who is super curious. And I turned that off my whole life. I was too curious for so long that I was taught that that was a bad thing. And now I know that it's actually incredible. It's my everything now. This curiosity is why I'm creating this content, because I want to hear your experiences, and I want to connect, and I want to study, and I want to learn, and I want to expand and grow. So please, anything that I say, these are just my experiences being shared from my perspective. And I'm giving you what's going through my head, what's going through my experience, and I'm so curious to hear about yours. So I think that's what has happened to me, was that the healing has allowed me to come back into my body. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, my body works a lot differently than other people's, because this isn't how other people live, right? And so amplified senses was one of the things, but also vibrating. Like I am high vibrating. I can feel energy. This is really hard to describe, but specifically when I was living on Copagan, I was vibrating. I'm not kidding you, especially at the full moon. So it's like it comes and it goes, and there are different levels of vibration, but I can tell you when I hold my hands out, I can feel energy emanating from my hands. And I can build that up and I can slow it down, and it appears as though I can manipulate it. And what the fuck? Like that's so strange to me as somebody who's never interacted with this sort of stuff. It's just like, whoa, what is this? Why can I do this? How do I do it? What am I supposed to do with it? It's been a lot, but super powerful, right? So I'm back in my body. I'm like noticing that my senses are really pretty intense, and that I'm feeling this energy, and I'm able to sort of manipulate the energy, and it feels like a superpower, to be honest. Like it feels pretty special. And so around this time, I was also getting a lot of energy work done, by the way. This is something I'll talk about separately as well, is I believe that I unblocked some energy blockages that I had probably been living with my whole life. And this is why we do the work, is to unblock these I mean, chakras, like energy itself can become blocked in the body, right? We know this. And I want to make a note here that I'm super interested in science and being grounded. And as much as I talk about spirituality, like my curiosity is like, how do I explain this? You know, like what studies are there? What studies could be done? How do we ground this stuff in something that makes sense to us? Moving on. So this energy became unblocked for me, and this is when I started going to ecstatic dance in Copenhagen. And I don't know what the fuck happened, guys. I don't know what happened. It was like one day I just cracked open. I showed up on the dance floor and I just fell into my groove. I got out of my head. I sat on the ground. So all of this was intuitive, and I don't know how I knew how to do this, but I did. I somehow just showed up vibrating, feeling my senses more than ever before, and I just somehow knew how to sit and ground myself in my body and to feel the energy building up and holding that energy, grounding in that energy. And then I would start to just feel the music take a hold of me. And when the music took a hold of me, I let go. I just allowed the music to take me away. And I swear to you, it literally took me away. I just started free flowing as if the music was this energy that I could align with. And then I was like just co-creating, allowing my body to just flow with the music. But what I'm trying to explain is I wasn't trying to dance at all. I wasn't trying to look cool. I wasn't trying to like show off my moves. I wasn't like, it all just happened so naturally. And now I've had this experience over and over again. And now I know for sure that I am just in flow. I'm channeling some sort of energy. I have the ability to channel energy, and I'm able to align with the energy of the music. And I literally just let go and my body dances. My body dances. I don't even feel like I'm there a lot of the time. And I am, of course, because I'm just emanating this joy, and it just feels so good when I go to that place. But this is a story I want to tell, is that I showed up at ecstatic dance one day and I just arrived. I just showed up in the most authentic, beautiful way. It just felt like my whole soul was shining as brightly as it possibly could. And I know for sure that my face was beaming, because that's just what happens when I'm in that place of joy and I'm channeling this energy, and everything feels so aligned and pure and real and good. And it just, it shoots out of my eyeballs. I'm not even kidding you. Like my whole face just glows. And everyone can see it. And this was the coolest thing about this experience is like, it wasn't just me having this experience. I was getting to experience how other people were perceiving my energy and feeling my energy because their faces would light up. And they would look at me like, wow, what is this bright, shining light? And they wanted to feel it too, and they could. And just by seeing me express that beautiful energy, it would give them permission to let go and to be in that energy and to be silly and playful and to have fun and to just be free in your body with the music, experiencing all these people and all this energy building up in this one space. And fuck, it was like the coolest thing ever. And of course, I have been hooked ever since. And so I've been going to ecstatic dance. When I was in Copenhagen, I'm not kidding you, probably went to ecstatic dance 2 or 3 times a week. And it's more than just dance. There's so much more that I can talk about on this subject. But for now, ecstatic dance is more than just dancing. There's a whole therapeutic experience to this, and there's time and space for emotions, and there's a lot of processing that can happen. So it's not just about the dance, but for the purpose of this story, let's just tap into that dance piece. So I started going to ecstatic dance and shining my light bright, brighter than ever before, and it was all coming so naturally. And like I said, people were feeling it, and I knew people were feeling it. And I was going to these things alone most of the time, and afterwards I could just see that people were like, who are you? What's like, and they were attracted to me. That's what the light does. When you shine that light, it's like people want to be in that glow. They want to bask in it. They want to interact with it. And I could just see people being like, oh my God, who are you? How do I talk to you? And beyond that, it started getting really strange because I would leave ecstatic dance and, go about my life and like go to the grocery store and like be on my motorbike and like going through town. And it's a tiny little island, and people would recognize me and be like, oh my God, it's the ecstatic dance girl. And like, they would get excited to see me. It was like I was a celebrity. Like people were like, hi, oh my God. Some of them would get really uncomfortable and just like get super shy, like starstruck, I was like, what is going on? This is so strange. Like here I've just come into my body. I'm just experiencing like how powerful this energy is that I'm learning how to step into, and how beautiful it is that it's not just me who can feel it, like I can transfer it to others. And when other people feel it, they're now turning to me and being like, whoa, who are you? How do I tap in? Like, I'll have what she's having. Little movie quote. So to say the least, this has been a very powerful experience that has happened to me. And so I left Copenhagen because I was ready to enter a new chapter. And as soon as I left Copenhagen, I was really overwhelmed by my senses and by all this energy. And I didn't have an outlet for it anymore. I was in California for a while, and I was working through my own lessons. I had other stuff that I was working through at that time, but I was noticing that I was just experiencing the world really differently from before, right? As I've explained. And so around this time is when I started to I'm trying to find the right word here, is when I started following a lot of the autism related posts on social media and identifying like big time, like, oh, what? Yes, I absolutely relate to all of these fucking memes. Like, and I didn't before, but I do now that I'm in my body. So it just became this huge, like, whoa, life-changing thing. Holy fuck, I'm autistic? Like, I was diagnosed ADD 2 years ago, and that in itself was a game changer. It was like, oh my God, it felt so good to just understand how my brain works and to realize that there's nothing wrong with me and I don't need to feel guilty and I don't need to carry all this shame. This is just how my brain works. And so the autism diagnosis has been a whole new chapter of discovery, and I'm not going to walk down that path on this episode, but I do want to say that a lot of the stuff that I'm starting to share is catered towards this autism awareness, because I am going through this experience of unmasking and recognizing that I have been masking my whole life, and I have been making myself smaller, and I have been living from a place that is not true to who I am. I've been holding myself back my whole life because I was too intense and too emotional and too big and too loud and too expressive, way too expressive, too much, too curious, too outspoken, like even too fearless, too brave, too much. And so this unmasking is so beautiful and so powerful, and I'm so grateful for going through this. But also, if I've learned anything from this healing process, is that identifying with things like this doesn't always serve me well. And so I want to bring forward this idea that unmasking isn't just for people with autism. I think unmasking is the work, is that we're all wearing all these masks all the time. We're all programmed to show up a certain way or to believe certain things or to act a certain way because of what we believe to be true. And I think healing in itself is an unmasking process. And again, I'll touch on this separately when I've put more thought into how to convey this, but I want to be really careful not to attach myself to labels and symptoms. This isn't just about autism and unmasking. I think this healing process, this process of self-discovery, this process of coming home to ourselves and feeling into who we are and how we are and what we're here to do, that whole process is about letting go of labels and letting go of symptoms and letting go of all this stuff that we hold on to and identify with. And this has been the biggest challenge in trying to tell my story, because I'm going through this healing process that is all about letting go of the stories that I believe to be true. And so how do I let go of my story when it's the most important thing to me is to tell my story? So that's part of this process as well. This podcast is a live experiment. Like I just said, it's a documentation process. I am documenting the process of healing and of embarking on this spiritual journey of walking the path. This is my hero's journey, and I am encouraging you and anyone who feels called to please walk this path with me and consider, what do we identify with? What do we need to let go of? What do we need to move away from and move towards? What masks do we need to take off, figuratively or whatever? And so, yes, this is why I started putting these videos out on the internet, is because now I'm living here in Lake Atitlan, where I came specifically because I knew there was ecstatic dance, and I know that there is something really powerful for me around ecstatic dance. And so because I'm able to have this connection with people and I can see that people are responding to the light that I am able to emanate and give out, I am following this clue. I'm following this path. I am here to shine. I am here to elevate energy. I am here to help people to walk this path, to do the work, to heal, to align with what we're here to do, to be, to give. And so I am terrified of putting dancing videos on the internet. It's a lot, but it also feels right to me. And this is why it feels right to me, because there's something energetically that's happening there. And I want to share my vibration, my light with you and with anyone who feels called to tap into it. And so I'm going to continue making these videos, but I've realized, and I acknowledge that I have to have rules of engagement. Social media is tough. I have a lot of opinions about social media and personal brands, and whether we're really supposed to be subject to this level of self again, being careful with the words here. Social media is a tough one, and I want to be very conscious about what I put out and why I put it out and how much I take in, because I understand that by putting something out there, I am opening those doors and I have no control whatsoever on what comes back. And I know that what comes back is not going to serve my highest good. And so in doing this experiment, I am being very aware and conscious that I need to do this because it feels good for me. Not because I want followers, not because I want to tell my story, not because I want people to like my stuff. I want to do it because it feels good, because it feels right, because it's what I'm meant to do. And from where I'm sitting right now, I've literally only put out 2 videos and it's super uncomfortable. The whole entire experience of it has been uncomfortable, but it feels right because people are responding and I'm having conversations and people are reaching out. And this is what it's about, it's about putting out my light that will attract the people that are meant for me, or that we have some sort of resonance so that we can work together, or that we can elevate together, or whatever it is. I am willing and able to put myself out there in those ways as long as it continues to feel good. And I am somebody who's highly sensitive in every way, shape, and form, like sensory sensitive, emotionally sensitive. There's just a lot. Yeah, I'm sensitive. And so knowingly putting myself out there like that is a big deal. But I do want to state for the record that I am trying my very best to be conscious about this, and that I might have to pull back, and I might have to look at different ways of handling this, and I might, who knows what's going to happen. But I am stating here in this moment that I have a desire to shine my light and to create these videos and to start putting myself out there. I'm stepping into my power and I'm putting myself out there, and I'm doing it because it feels right. And this is part of the journey, taking one step at a time. The last thing I want to touch on here is something that I have trouble finding answers for, but one of the things that really resonates for me with music and with this sensory stuff that I'm describing is my ability to feel emotional data. I can't figure out any other way to explain this, but I am a highly sensitive person and I feel emotions, right? Let's call it an empath. Let's call it, some people believe that's an autistic quality, is the ability to feel intense emotions. What I'm experiencing, though, I have not been able to find anybody online who is describing this, so I'm putting this out there because are you experiencing this? Does this sound familiar to you? I feel like my superpower is the ability to feel emotional data. I just said that. I just don't know how to explain it any better. Okay, so for example, when a song is playing I can feel what the singer is feeling. And I have the conviction to express it to the utmost amount, like exactly how it was expressed, how that emotion came through in the recording. It feels as though I can pick up on that emotional data in the wavelength and I can feel it so much so that I can express it myself. This is the experience I'm having with these dance videos, with dance, with ecstatic dance, with I can just I feel music so intensely, it's mind-blowing. If it's a sad song, it's like I fucking wrote the song. I feel the sadness and I can express it to you as if I was going through it, as if it was mine. There's something so interesting here, and I would love to unpack this more. I would love to hear any opinions about being able to express emotional data. I'm just going to call it that for now. But I share this because this is what I want to put out in these videos is I want to show you like, man, I can really feel the music and I am transferring it to you through these videos because those emotions are so powerful and they're so real, and this is what the human experience is about, is this range and this depth of emotion that we can transfer. And most of the time, especially in the Western world, we are projecting and transferring fucking shitty emotions. Shitty emotional data, people. There's so much shitty emotional data flying around constantly, and this is really hard for me as a sensitive person, is taking on all of the emotional data that's out there and not knowing what's mine and not being able to tell what I'm feeling or where it comes from. Like, this is a big piece of the work that I'm doing now. But the reason why I'm doing these emotional performances or these videos or these dances is because there's a beautiful emotion that I am able to emanate, to feel and to channel, and I can then transfer it to you, and I can put it on the internet and I can raise vibes, and that's what this is all about. And so I hope you can feel it too, and I hope you can see the beauty in all this. I'm holding back from getting emotional right now because it feels like I just expressed so many of the things that I've wanted to express for so long. But I just had this block because I had to write it all out. And the thing that I keep learning over and over is that when I just show up, I'm so much more capable than I realize. All we have to do is show up and do the best we can with what we have, and it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Call it an experiment. Call it whatever you have to call it. But if it's in service of your highest good, if it's something that feels like you really need to do it, let's just do the best we can to show up. And with that, I'm going to mark this, bring this to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. I hope you will embark on this journey and answer the call with me as we do the work to unmask and to become the heroes of our stories. That's it for me. I'm JGB. Till next time, au revoir.